Hello, folks. My name is Rick Haaland from Diplomats of Dope, Medical Marijuana Educators. Today, I want to talk to you about a company called, let me get the pamphlet here, Viridesco. I've been CannaCoaching people for a couple of years now. And about 2 or 3 years ago, I went to the Vancouver Compassion Club, and they sold some Rick Simpson type of oil, what they call compassion oil. And they were having some quality issues. It was really skunky, and it tasted worse than normal, and it smelled, and they halted production on that type of oil for a couple of months. They were having a lot of quality issues. So I said to the person at the Compassion Club, where am I going to get Rick Simpson type of oil? And he said, well, just down the street at the BC Pain Society, I believe it's called, just down the street heading to Vancouver next to the Compassion Club. There is a place that will sell Viridesco oil. Now, let me tell you why I prefer Viridesco oil over any other oil. When you go to at least the Vancouver Compassion Club, when they sell you compassion oil in the little Patron dispensers, they usually, I haven't seen it yet, they haven't put the amounts of THC and CBD on those particular vials. And as an educator of high THC products, it's extremely important that the product that you get in your hands has the THC levels in it, the CBD levels in it, and all the other lab tests. And this Viridesco takes pride in lab testing all of their products. So when I CannaCoach somebody using Viridesco oil, you're talking high THC products, 60, 70, 80, even sometimes up to close to 90% THC. This is a very serious product for pain control and sleep control, but I must caution you to use very small amounts. And I'll tell you, when I CannaCoach people, the first thing I do is when I put Rick Simpson type oil in their hands, is I take a little baggie, and I take a short grain of rice, and I put it in the bag. And then I take another short grain of rice and cut it in half. Like if it's lengthways, I cut it in half this way, and then that small short grain of rice goes in this bag. And so I put them in the bag, and I say, see the half grain of rice? And people say yes. I say, okay, that's your starting dose. That is your starting dose. Do not ever take more than a half a grain of rice of this medicine the first time. If you take a whole grain of rice, and when I say a grain of rice, the container is about this big, and it looks like a syringe container. It's got a little nipple on it, and you turn the little dial clockwise, and it forces the medicine out. Now, I must caution you, because a lot of people, they don't know when they're using high THC products, you have to be very careful. And some of the clients that I've been counseling, they take the little Patreon dispenser and they click it, and too much medicine comes out. And all you do on the Patreon dispenser is you just lick it off the tip of the dispenser. But when you've got your little dose coming out of the Patreon dispenser or Patron dispenser, then you have to loosen up the pressure on the little tube. You have to do counterclockwise about 3 or 4 rotations to completely take off the pressure of that little device. If you do not do that, medicine keeps pouring out of that little nozzle. And if you eat it, you're guaranteed to go from euphoria, a nice, pleasant, mild euphoria, to getting high, because it's too much medicine. The first time you take any kind of a Rick Simpson type oil, a high THC oil, half the size of a grain of rice. That is very small. Most people make the mistake. They'll say, oh, that stuff looks innocuous, it doesn't look scary, so I'll just take, this much, and they get really high, and they end up on the sofa for 4 or 5 hours. Pain control is good, but you can't engage your high. You can't engage properly, you can't visit properly, you can't work properly, you can't even do much. So you have to use caution when you use these. Viridesco, and I'll share with you how it's made, or how I've been told it's made, directly from the Rick Simpson kind of camp. And by the way, Rick Simpson will never, ever sell his Rick Simpson oil online. There are too many people, out there that are trying to duplicate Rick Simpson's recipe, and it's an easy recipe to do. It's just they are selling you snake oil. So if you come across a website that says, oh, this is Rick Simpson oil, and it's directly from Rick Simpson, do not buy it. He has stated publicly on the internet that he will never sell the oil on the internet. The only place that I feel comfortable buying Rick Simpson types of oil is from Viridesco. Now, I just found the picture of the Patron dispenser, and I'll show it up to the mirror, or the camera. See, this is the Patron dispenser, and you have to do it clockwise. So this is where the medicine is in a little tube, right? Right here is the medicine in a little tube. So you crank this clockwise until the medicine comes out just a bit, and then quickly back off the pressure from here. You'll see you can either turn it this way, clockwise or counterclockwise. As soon as you get your medicine there, you back off the pressure immediately. Now, what happens if you get too much medicine? Don't eat it. Don't put it in your mouth. I would suggest going to get a piece of cling film, saran wrap, and just wipe it against the saran wrap. At least you're not wasting it, and you can lick it off the saran wrap later on. But I was counseling someone, and she said, well, I did the little thing. I screwed it clockwise, and the medicine kept coming out the other end, so I just kept licking it off. You're going to get high. Half the size of a grain of rice. Also, when you use any high THC kind of product, here are the rules. Never drive for an entire day. If you're going to take it like at 10 o'clock in the morning, 11 o'clock in the morning for pain control, if it's your first time, never ever take any kind of cannabis product with THC in it if you're driving or if you're working. Never do that. Set aside a day, like a weekend or a day off, where you're comfortable, where you can lay down and have a sleep if you want, where you don't have anything else to distract you. You can allow the medicine to work for you. And the reason it was so critically important for me to come on here and tell you about this is because a couple of people that I've counseled, I'll give them their first dose, and I will measure their first dose because I want their first dose to be in front of me, and then I stay with them for a couple of hours until I know how the medicine's going to react. A lot of people would take that first dose and think, oh yeah, and not pay attention and watch what I was looking at, how much I was giving them, very little, and they'll take more the second time. So let me tell you a little secret. Sooner or later, when you work with cannabis, you're going to take, it could be now, it could be a week from now, it could be a month from now, you're going to take just a little bit too much medicine, or not too much, I would say, but more than is what is adequate. And so for those times, and everybody goes through this, for those times you're going to feel how powerful medical cannabis can be, especially in a concentrate. See, when you smoke it, which is the worst thing you can do because you only get about 10% of the medicine, if it's the 20% THC in the flower or in the bud, you're getting very, very little medicine. This stuff is 60, 70, 80, up to 90% THC. So this is rocket fuel. And it is extremely effective for chronic pain and sleep. Once you give the person the gift of sleep, it'll change their entire world. So my personal preference for any kind of Rick Simpson types of oil is Viridesco. You can find them at veridesco.com. And please, if you're going to get anything, get the Patron dispenser, and it has user guidelines here. Now that the oil is on the surface of the nozzle created by dose, the following guidelines below. So it gives you explicit guidelines, and these are really, really well done pamphlets. As a matter of fact, it even tells you the strains that they use, why they use them. It explains a little bit about their company. I think this is an extremely good company. And if you're at a compassion club or if you're somewhere where you're just not getting the type of medicine or the type of relief that you want, I would suggest that you check out veridesco.com. They sell their products over the internet in Canada because A, recreational marijuana is legal, and B, medical marijuana has been legal since 2001. So my personal preference, I won't buy any other Rick Simpson type of oil except this one. It's lab tested. They know what they're doing. They're local in Vancouver and Victoria. So I have a trusted source of medicine. This is a very, very important part of my medicine regime. I also use a vaporizer. I get the extra strength tincture. I use a little bit of hashish on the top of my vaporizer sometimes. But remember, safety first. when you're using medical cannabis, you always must put safety in front of whatever you're doing. Don't get distracted by anything. Be safe. It's not scary medicine as long as you take necessary safety precautions. Folks, thank you for letting me talk to you about Viridesco oil. And the reason I came on here is because I don't want your first experience with cannabis, with Viridesco oil, to be a bad one. If you take this much, and I'll hold my fingers up, if you take this much, the size of a grain of rice lengthwise, if you take that as your first dose, you will probably get high. That's why I strongly suggest, half a grain of rice. And anyone, I don't know if you can see this, not, oh, you can't see that, it's on the bottom. Anyone who's starting out needs to know, I put this bag with the grains of rice in their hands, and I say, look, I look in their eyes and I say, this stuff is rocket fuel. By the time it gets to you, it's been soaked in Everclear-like alcohol, and it's been soaking for about 7 weeks, and then they put it in these big pots, these big vats, and they render it down to there. So it's really powerful, but nothing, I have never seen anything cut through chronic pain or allow a person to sleep like this product. Also, a safety aspect. A friend of mine who I'm helping with leukemia, he ended up in the hospital, and I was CannaCoaching him, and I got him THC compassion oil from the Vancouver Compassion Club. The only problem is, if you end up in the hospital for an unrelated condition, the first thing the emergency wards are going to say is, well, are you on cannabis? Yeah, I take cannabis. Okay, how much THC is involved? How much CBD? What is it? Where is it? With the Patreon, you can take this to the hospital. You can take your little thing, your little tube, and it has all the information, lab tested. All the information's right there. THC levels, CBD levels. So if you ever end up in the hospital and they say, well, what medications are you on? You can take this pamphlet, or you can take your little tube that the medicine comes in. That's extremely important because that's part of safety training. Thank you, folks. This is Rick Haaland from Diplomats of Dope. You can get us at diplomatsofdope.com. You can email me at diplomatsofdope@gmail.com. Hoping you're having a great day. We'll be doing a lot more of these educational videos for medical marijuana use throughout the coming months. Thanks so much for joining us. This is Rick Haaland saying bye-bye. We'll see you next video. Take care.